Hi, everybody. This is Hondo Carpenter from Sports Illustrated's Fan Nation, Las Vegas Raiders Insider. It's time for our Raiders Insider podcast. And for our discussion today, we're talking about new quarterback Jimmy Garoppolo, who I have some perspective on from his time in New England. And this guy has a lot of perspective on him because he covered him as a daily beat reporter. He is my fellow Sports Illustrated Fan Nation reporter from the All 49ers site. Grant Cohn does a tremendous job. If it's 49ers, he's got it. Grant, good to have you. Thanks, buddy, for joining me.
Thanks so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. Let's talk. Let's talk Jimmy. Now you get the Jimmy Garoppolo experience. I'm so happy for you. It's been our pleasure for the last 5-6 years, and now you get some. Great.
There's a lot of people in Vegas who don't like Josh McDaniels and Dave Ziegler because they're Patriots, and Raiders hate the Patriots. And they go out and traded Darren Waller because availability is the best ability, and Darren's injured a lot. But then you go get a guy like Jimmy Garoppolo, great person, great quarterback, talented, all those things, but the guy can't stay healthy. So let's start on the field. Let's not talk about health. Let's just talk about talent on the field. What's your analysis covering him every day for so many years of Jimmy Garoppolo when he's healthy?
All right. Strengths. He has a quick release, and he's not a check down Charlie. Like on third down, he'll fire the ball over the middle past the first down marker. He's very daring in that way. He's statistically been good on third down. Very high completion percentage throughout his career. That's the good. The not so good is he's slow. He doesn't really move very much, and statistically, he doesn't throw down the field. Like since 2019, I think he has 8 completions of more than 30 yards, like air yards, and 0 touchdowns, or maybe 1. So he's in that sense, he's the anti-Raiders quarterback. I mean, he wouldn't fit Al Davis's Raiders, but this is almost like New England West, to your point. And I do think he's a terrific scheme fit with Josh McDaniels, a much better fit than with Kyle Shanahan, who wants his quarterback to be under center and turn his back and do play action. Like that's not necessarily what you have to do with McDaniel. McDaniel, it's, or at least in New England, it was get the ball in the shotgun and get the ball out quick. I think that's what Jimmy wants to do. And finally, he probably won't have an adversarial relationship with his coach. Kyle kind of soured on Jimmy after 8 games, but that's how Kyle is. I feel like McDaniels is more invested in Jimmy.
Yeah, now let's get to the health part because you can't deny it. The guy is constantly injured. And regardless of how talented you are, the best ability is availability. How frustrating was it with the organization and the fans that the fact the guy was always injured?
It's incredibly frustrating. It's one of the main reasons they traded all those picks for Trey Lance, who was completely unproven. And the thing with Jimmy Garoppolo and these injuries is he just can't move. It seems like it's 2 things. One, he can't move, and 2, he's tougher than Derek Carr, I want to say. Like I've seen Derek Carr. Derek Carr can preserve himself on the field. He moves better than Jimmy. He'll check the ball down on 4th down. Like he'll do certain business decision things that make you wonder if he's really competing. Jimmy won't do that, but he'll take hits and he won't get back up. Like he'll break things. He'll break his thumb. He'll hurt his shoulder. So in that sense, like he is better than Derek Carr, but is he going to make it through the whole season? Probably not.
Grant, you and I are close enough. We've talked enough that I don't care if you disagree with me because I want your opinion or I wouldn't have you on. I have said, and I said this back when they benched Derek Carr when I broke that story, that if you're going to go get Jimmy Garoppolo, it makes no sense because they're basically very similar type players, although Derek's got a bigger arm, and Derek's a little bit more mobile, little bit, not a lot, a little bit, but Derek's always available and Jimmy's not. And I said, I think Jimmy fits the scheme better. And it's nothing personal. But if he doesn't stay healthy for all 17 games, this was a terrible move by the Raiders. Do you think I'm being unfair of the organization?
I think you're being totally fair. And frankly, I don't think it was a wise move. I don't think anyone's going anywhere with Jimmy Garoppolo. He's had plenty of opportunities on a very good team. Nothing against the Raiders, but they're not quite at the Niners level right now in terms of where their roster is.
Reality.
They don't have that defense. I mean, they don't have certain things the Niners have. So he brings respectability in a lot of ways, but the Raiders still need to be in the quarterback market. They still should probably take a quarterback with the 1st round pick or no later than round 2, the way I look at it.
I agree with you. All right, let's get to the Jimmy Garoppolo in the locker room. I've said this before. Everybody, and I know lots of people who know him, love him, great guy. I've not heard one negative thing about him in the locker room as far as culture. What are your thoughts?
He's a very popular person, and he's never seems to have enemies on a team. He seems like he gets along. That being said, he had a real hold on the Niners locker room, and he was very popular. I don't know that that necessarily will translate to the Raiders, because remember, he came to the Niners when they were a rebuilding team with a lot of young guys. George Kittle was a rookie, and
Mhm.
Jimmy Garoppolo comes in midseason from the Patriots, wins those games. He's 26, 27. I think those kids looked up to him. Like, man, you're cool, you're a winner, and now we're winners because of you. And so I think he has some like friends for life on that team. He's not going to have that kind of support. So if he comes in to the Raiders and they also draft, say, Anthony Richardson, I'm sure the people in that locker room will be, equally open minded to both of them. This guy's here. This guy's a starter now, but that guy's probably the starter in the future. Whereas on the Niners, I feel like there was a contingent of players like, why is Trey Lance here? And we like Jimmy. It was all that kind of stuff. So he may not have that kind of support in his back pocket.
Two quick questions from you, but you and I've talked enough. I know people connected to the organization, and I keep hearing, and I trust you because you're closer. I keep hearing from people that Trey Lance just hasn't won the guys. It isn't personality. It doesn't mean they don't like him. Just with his on-field ability, he hasn't moved the team. Do you see that? If so, is it a surprise to you? What are your thoughts? I'm just curious about where Trey Lance is.
Well, I mean, I think people are trying to insinuate that there's something happening in practice. Like, it's just practice. What we've seen from Trey Lance in games is inconsistent. He's won, one start. Yeah, he's lost some.
Right.
The Niners, he hasn't demonstrated that he can win with the Niners the way that Jimmy and Brock did, right? Jimmy won his first 6 starts, 5 starts. Brock won his first 7 starts. And that's a short-sighted way to pick a quarterback, but that's how the Niners do it. They think they're a win now team, and they're not trying to take 1 step or 2 steps back and play the long game so they can take steps forward. I think if Trey's going to ever take this team, he's going to have to take it and, like now, like week 1, week 2, week 3. And to be fair to Trey, he's never played with Christian McCaffrey. He's played 1 game with George Kittle and won that game. Like, he hasn't necessarily had a great chance. 4 starts is not fair to judge anyone. Ryan Leaf got more than that. Jamarcus Russell got more than that. So
Right.
the Niners need to be careful here because they really have no idea what they have in Trey Lance. And just because a guy doesn't go 5-0 to start his career doesn't mean he's a bust. I mean, Peyton Manning, Troy Aikman, we could go on and on. Jalen Hurts.
Well, man, yeah, Jalen. One more Niners question, just purely because I care, and our listeners won't. If you had to predict today, because nobody's closer to the team than you, who's the starting quarterback next year?
Week 1.
Yeah.
I get the feeling it's going to be Brock. Now, I think that's like best case scenario, but I think the Niners, if he missed the entire offseason and was healthy week 1, I think they would start him.
Mhm.
And that's what's so awkward about the Trey Lance thing. They say he needs playing time, but I don't think they really are committed to giving. Maybe they go to a 2 quarterback system, although I don't think so. I think they like Brock. They were scoring 35 points a game with Brock. So
Right.
if he's healthy, it's Brock. If not, it's Trey. And Trey will have theoretically this whole offseason to impress the team and show that he's grown and change people's perceptions. And if he does that, they think, well, hey, if Jalen Hurts did it, why can't Trey? So ball's in his court. The only thing is they need a right tackle. They don't have a first-round pick. They don't have a second-round pick. If they need a plug-and-play rookie and they need to get up that high in the draft, how are they going to do it? Maybe they trade Trey Lance. I mean, they just signed Sam Darnold, so they don't, they have a backup. It's interesting. Let's see what happens with Trey.
Awesome. Last question on Jimmy G, Grant. We're talking to Grant Cohn from all49ers.com. He's my colleague with Sports Illustrated's Fan Nation, terrific beat writer, knows what's going on inside and out. Grant, when you look at Jimmy Garoppolo, what's the guy like away from the facility? Is he a community guy? Is he somebody that's going to be out there that the fans, because, I mean, people loved Derek Carr or hated him,
Yeah.
but he was always out in the community. Where's Jimmy going to be like?
That's the thing about Jimmy. His personal life is extremely private, and he goes off the grid in the offseason. Like, where's Jimmy right now? I don't know. He's not like on social media, which isn't a bad thing. He's not constantly letting you know what he's doing. But one of the things that leaked about him out here is that the coaches were frustrated that they couldn't get a hold of Jimmy Garoppolo in the offseason as much as they'd like. And Kyle Shanahan's a grinder. He's constantly thinking about this. He's probably an overworker. And I think Jimmy kind of looks at this job as, a sixth to
Job.
seventh month of your job. Like
Right.
leave me the heck alone. I'm a veteran. I know what I'm doing. I'll be back when I don't do what I need to do. But I think Kyle Shanahan sort of wants a 23-year-old kid who's eager to please Kyle. And I'm there every day. And what do you need, coach? That's not exactly Jimmy. I don't know really what he does. And does he go back to Chicago? Is he with, who knows? He takes some me time, and maybe that's what he needs.
Interesting. Grant, stay the line. I want to talk to you real quick. That's the great Grant Cohn from all49ers.com, my colleague, giving you a look at Jimmy Garoppolo and what the Raiders are getting in their new quarterback. We'll see you next time on Las Vegas Raiders Insider Podcast.